Question of the day. What's your favorite keyword party game? Things like Just One, So Clover, all these are games that pop into mind. Code names, right? Because today we're talking about a game from Devir Games, a small box game called Walkie Talkie. Now the interesting thing about this is, it is a co-op game with a timer, but the timer is 30 seconds per player. So you can buzz through this game 10-15 rounds in only 10-15 minutes. It is a game in which you are guessing, well, you're not guessing, you're trying to play your cards out, but rather than having someone guess what you're saying, you have to be able to justify why you're playing your cards. Let's talk about how the game plays, what it does. We'll come back up, talk final thoughts. But again, let me know in the comments below what your favorite word-based party games are. Letter Jam's another good one in the comments below. And we will talk Walkie Talkie right now. Roger. Over now. Not over now because I'm actually coming back, but over. This is Walkie Talkie. Now the setup of the game is the exact same setup as a famous magic trick called Triumph by Di Vernon. You split the cards into a half like this, essentially you're cutting the top over, and then you're going to flip the cards face up. So you now have face up cards shuffling into face down cards. Now you're going to shuffle them into each other just like this, and then you're going to take the top two cards. Now the idea thing is you've got back to back cards throughout here now, front to front cards throughout here. You've got face up, face down. Ideally that's not the card, right? No, oh wait, I'm in the middle of doing the trick. Actually, here's the funny thing. If you just snap your fingers, boom, all the cards are back except one card. That would be the card chosen. Now that is what the trick Triumph looks like. So just in case you were wondering. But the actual game does work like that. You split the cards over, flip one up, face up, shuffle them into each other, push the pharaoh in. You then have a mess, just like this. Face up cards throughout here, face down throughout here, all the way through. Now what you're gonna do is, you're gonna then deal the top card face up with a color and face up with the letter. What you'll then do is deal everybody 6 cards. Now let's mix this up just a little bit more. We're going to deal everybody 6 cards. So here's how it would look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You are not allowed to turn over your cards. Now the way it works is you're going to have to get these cards played out of your hand. When you play a card, you can play it to the appropriate stack, but when you do, when you play the card down, you're going to have to say a word that starts with the letter that is visible and has to do with this color. Now at this point, I'm kind of stuck. I don't know. I would not have played the Z if I was playing in a real game. This is an example, but let's think for a second, because you're going to come up with, if the group agrees that the clue is valid, then it's valid and keep playing. You are playing for these little stars. It calls them asterisks in the back of the book, but you're playing for these stars on the backs of the cards here. But let's think for a second. Z, orange. What is orange? Orange, Z, tang is tangy citrus, Z. Flying zebras, nope. Zed, Judge Zed, where's zilch, lemons. You know, I don't have anything for that. Forget that. Let's say we played pink. D, donut. Donuts, especially the Simpsons donuts, are pink on top with sprinkles. That would play. Then, let's say I play again. Now we do with, let's say we do a Y here. Y, pink. Yoga mats. Maybe I have a yoga mat in the house. It's pink. I don't, but you might. Then we have a purple one here, and we have these 3 letters. So let's keep going here. Let's keep playing through. Now this is simultaneous, and you will have exactly 30 seconds per player in the game for the round, which means in 2 players, you're going to have 1 minute to do this. The other 2 things you could do, you could say Roger. If you say Roger, at that point, everybody flips their cards over, and now you use the back sides of the cards. This helps us. So we now have red, yellow, and pink. For Y, with the red, we could go yellow light, stop sign, yellow light, you know, whatever, maybe, I don't know. And the other thing you can do is say over. When you say over, you're going to pass all your cards to the person to your left, and then you'll take the card. So you will play until either everybody plays all their cards or you run out of time. If you run out of time, you're going to subtract cards per points per card left in your hand. That's how you play Walkie Talkie and Triumph, the magic trick. So that's Walkie Talkie. Now, here's what's interesting about this game. It's just letters and colors. That's it, right? I do love that it is a Triumph effect. You have to flip the cards face up and face down and dribble them or shuffle them together. I like that as a magician, but I like what that does. it means that you have some cards that are letters and some cards that are colors in there, and you only get to use what's facing you. Now, yes, you can call Roger, you can call over, but it might not help you. So here's what I like about this game. Instead of giving clues to someone, you have to use your brain and justify why you're playing a card. And then your friends have to verify it and go, yeah, that checks out. Or you can totally bomb it and be like, oh, that's not what I meant to say. And then you have to, take the penalty for that. I think this is a brilliant concept that you have to throw out. Okay, tea, and there's a yellow. Let's go with tahini, the sauce you put in, stuff you put in hummus, right? Little things like that. And here's the deal. It's difficult. What I just did was a random case, but it absolutely will happen all the time. You get orange and J. Boom, juice. That one's easy. You get orange and X. I don't know what you do. You better play another card with a color on it, or you better play another letter to get rid of that, right? Little things like that are so difficult on the spot because you're playing with the timer. And playing with that timer, and I highly suggest getting a sand timer that's visible, because then it's really nerve-wracking, especially if you're only playing with 2 players and it's 30 seconds each. But if you can get a set of timers, that's great. If not, have your phone where it doesn't turn off and you can watch the timer count down, because then it forces the pressure on you. And the more pressure you have, the more exciting the game is, obviously. So I highly recommend Walkie Talkie as a quick party game that fills and scratches the itch of those word-based clue games, but doesn't take forever, right? It doesn't take a large group either. You can do this with 2 people. You can do this with 10 people. The point, or 8 people, whatever it says, but the point is, it's all about you coming up with something and everybody else checking it out, as opposed to you having to guess what someone else has. It's almost in reverse of what you normally do. And I think that's cool. I like the justification process of playing a card down, whether it be a color, whether it be a letter, or whether you're stuck and you need to flip, or then you've got a great clue you're about to play and someone says switch or over, and it's like, oh no, I had one ready I was going to do, and so those little things are there, those wrinkles are there. Highly recommend. Walkie Talkie is a really cool party game. It's so fast and small and sets up and tears down like that I think it's worth adding to the collection, just because it does something so different. You're justifying rather than cluing, and I like that. I think it's great. It forces pressure, which causes the game to be more exciting. It causes you to rush in your brain. The rushing of your brain causes your brain to trip over itself and not be as efficient. Those little things, to me, really stand out. And this will be one of those games you talk about. No, why didn't you say this? Or I can't believe you didn't do this. That little stuff's fun. So, Walkie Talkie from Devir Games. Big fan. I'm Bryan Drake here on the Dice Tower. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, etc. at Dice Tower Bryan. Until next time, we'll see you. Question of the day. When is the last time you played a game that did something unique with how you used the cards? I think of things like Canvas or Mystic Veil, where the cards do something, right? This game that we're talking about today, the cards don't have a neat little card sleeve that you put them in and do something, but how you touch and interact with the cards actually matters. Because today we're talking about a game that is very simple. You're essentially trying to collect the most flowers and the most points for flowers and the most points and win the game, but you do so in such a way that you are trying to reach into a cactus and get the flower. Now, I have a little bit of experience with this week. Not cacti, because we live down here in Mobile, Alabama, but we do get blackberry bushes around this time of year. If you know anything about blackberry bushes, they have tiny, almost hair-like little thorns in them. And all you have to do is just bump up against them and you're going to get nailed by a blackberry thorn. In fact, in our gardenia bush, just outside right there, there is a strand of blackberry bush stuff growing up through them. And so I thought, wow, I kind of want to pick a few of those. And then I dropped something behind the gardenia bush and I thought, well, I better grab that carefully. So I just reach in and bam, immediately snack myself with this. Why am I telling this long drawn out tale? Because it matters. You're having to carefully reach in, which is exactly what we're doing today. In this game called Ouch, with an exclamation mark on the end, you're carefully reaching and grabbing, trying not to get pricked by a cactus in order to gain the most points. So let's take a look at how Ouch plays. We'll come back up, talk final thoughts right now. So this is Ouch, set up for as many players as can play the game, which is actually, just in case we're curious, 2 to 5 players. On your turn, you're going to choose one of the 6 cards that are out here. When you do, you're going to choose one of the sides, so maybe say top, right, left, or bottom. When you do, you're going to turn over the card. Make sure you're keeping a hold on to it from memory. Holding on to this. Now, if you're holding on to this and there is, in fact, a cactus at the top side of it, like this one would be safe. There's cactus just on the left. You would then get pricked by the cactus if there was cactus up here. We are in the clear, so we get to keep this one. However, if this red flower, which is in the top side of the deck, the red flowers also give you a prickly thing where you have to discard another card that's in front of you. However, the person with the most red flowers at the end of the game gets 5 points. Anyway, we would keep this in the clear. Now, let's just say we had said left. We say left. Ouch! You have to say ouch really loud because it's the name of the game, and we like things that make you say ouch, or we like things that make you say things out loud like that. That sounded kind of mean, didn't it? Like, I like to hurt people. Don't. That's bad. Bad advice. Point is, if I'd have flipped over and said ouch, I would lose this card, right? Now, that being said, you're going to keep playing on your turn. You're going to flip over a card if I would have gotten pricked there. And then at the end of the game, you're going to score certain things based on flowers. But I wanted to show you there are a couple cards here. There are a couple animals. A snake is if the next player, if you turn over a card with a snake and you keep it, the next player who gets pricked by a card, they will give that card to you instead. The finnick allows you to immediately take another turn. You can actually lose a card during that, so the extra turn, just know that. Now, at the end of the game, scoring is done. The first person who has 8 cards in front of him ends the game, but you get 1 point for each flower that you have collected. You get 4 points for each set of 4 flowers with different colors you've collected. So of the different colors here, you've got different color sets that the backs of them are related. So you are not shooting in the dark, but you're trying to capture these without getting pricked by them. So carefully trying to pick this flower. So you're doing sets of cards. So there are 4 additional points for each set with different colors you have. And then the person who has the most red flowers gets 5 points. In the case of the tie, they both get 5 points. That's how you play Ouch. Very simple game with a very interesting concept that's I've not seen this done before, but it's one that can be played very fast. But kind of a push your luck mechanic in the sense of instead of drawing cards, where you choose to turn over the cards. See, I lost a finger right there. First and foremost, the game's cute, right? Cute. That's something to be said about that. Not cutesy pie, but cute, in a way that it's just, you'd show this to your kids and it'd be like, hey, let's try this game. Be careful. We're going to be trying like we're getting something out of a cactus. Remember when we picked blackberries? It evokes those memories, right? Which is neat that it does that. But in playing the game, I like this. It reminds me a little bit of how Memrar took a memory game and made it more advanced. This takes just literally turning over a card and seeing, did I poke myself? It's press your luck, but in a way that you gotta just think, okay, I really need that flower. Do I want to risk it? It is random, yeah, and I get that. The complaint, obviously, the interlocutor would say that it is just random. You don't know, blah blah blah. But you also don't have to turn over a card that you don't want to turn over. So yes, it is luck. But isn't that kind of fun, though, sometimes? Isn't it kind of fun to just play a game with your kids like that? And this is much more of a kid game. I would play this with my kids more so than the game night. I just reviewed Veggies by the same company, and I wouldn't do Ouch on a game night, but I would definitely play this with my kids. Have them turn over the card. Oh, you got hit by the cactus. Boom, you don't get that flower. But it teaches push your luck, right? Because you really want to be careful. You really want to think, oh, come on. Boom. And so you have to agonize about those choices, about those flowers and things like that. Do I want to risk losing this card because I need this flower? And all in all, it's just cute. It's fun. It's a younger audience. Again, I wouldn't play this at game nights, but it's a cute game that does something different. And after all, it's fun to see a game that does something different. In this case, you're turning over cards a certain way. Is it breaking barriers? Is it the greatest game of all time? Absolutely not, but it's cute fun, especially for families. So, I'm Bryan Drake here on the Dice Tower. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, etc. at Dice Tower Bryan. Until next time, we'll see you. I don't know why I snapped. That was weird. Question of the day. What is your favorite game that involves laying tiles or cards out in a spatial element to where you're eliminating bad symbols and you're trying to keep good symbols? For instance, there are games that do this as a main mechanic, like the one we're talking about today, and there are other games that use this as a resource collector. Think of Smartphone Inc. You use this tile laying and what's showing to give you benefits, versus today we're talking about a game from Devir called Veggies. Now, ironically, strawberries and bananas are featured. I guess this game just means any sorts of fruits and vegetables. I'm joking. It doesn't matter. It's just a joke. Same as there's mushrooms, those are fungi. Fungi. But that's irrelevant because what we're doing in this game is laying cards, taking cards, drafting cards, placing them face up to get the best symbols showing and strategically place them to mitigate mice from being in your vegetables. No one wants mice in your vegetables. That's why we have cats. So, it's not for whatever. Let's take a look at how Veggies plays, what it does. We'll come back up, talk final thoughts right now. So this is Veggies setup. Now I currently only have one player showing, but the game does play upwards of 2 to 4 people. You have 3 central market cards, your private market. Now you get dealt 2 cards at the beginning, but I'm laying down 1. This is not random. You do get to choose based on what you want. So for instance, we have a set of strawberries here, 3. Veggies. Strawberries. Huh. Anyway, you also have bananas. And mice. Those are not vegetables either. Good protein, I'm sure, but you don't want to eat mice. That's the whole point. They are negative points in the end of the game. What you're trying to do on your turn is you're going to play either the card from your hand or one of the 3 central market cards. And when you play them, you're going to be covering up items. Now you can rotate this, you can place it orthogonally adjacent, or you can even cover up things. So for instance, I might want to do this and get rid of those mice. I would then draw a card to have in my hand to replace. Or if I'd have chosen from the central market, instead I could place this here, covering that up, the empties. Now I have mushrooms, carrots, but I have a couple mice as well. Then you would take the top card and replace it out here. You're going to do this until someone has 8 cards in front of them. Then the interesting scoring happens. Each player determines which kind of goods in the market stand makes up the biggest group. A group is a cluster of spaces that says they have the same kind. So obviously strawberries here, our biggest group is the strawberries. Now obviously we would have more cards out here. We'll add a couple just so we'll have some more out here to look at for scoring. But because this is essentially what's going to be happening, you cannot slide a new card under an old card, but you always place on top or orthogonally adjacent. Orthogonally? I don't care. Orthogonally, yes. Diagonally, orthogonally. Interesting. Diagonal has a crooked shape in the A. Orthogonally is nice and round. So then everybody will score a point for everybody's largest group. So if my largest group is strawberries, which currently it is strawberries. Everybody else would get a point for strawberries and vice versa. So if theirs were grapes, I would get 1, 2, 3 grapes. I would get 1, 2, 3 bananas if theirs were bananas. The way you score the rest of the goods is you will find your largest group. So our largest group of bananas is 3. We have a 2. You count 1, 2, 3. Then you multiply that number by the number of separate groups there are. So we would score 6 points for our bananas. Now that is the only thing currently we have strawberries. So we'd have 1, 2, 3. The amount of our largest group times the amount of groups times 2, so 6 and 6. So that is how you play and that's how you score. You're going to score these. Obviously, you're going to have more out here. So we'd have more grape sections here. Now this is 1, 2, 3 times 2. Maybe you want to add to it. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times 2. Or heck, now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times 3. That's 15 points. It's minus 2 points for each mouse, just so you know. And I wanted to point that out because kind of like a la cats, this has 2 mice in that one box. So that'd be minus 4 points. You're going to try to cover up. Ideally, you're going to try to cover up points, cover up cards out here, mitigating the bad stuff while getting points for the good stuff. But that is how you play Veggies. So that's Veggies. This is a great game. I'll just say it right now. I love the simplicity of this. I love the fact that, you're just getting a card. That's it. But you have to choose where to lay that card, and you have so many options. Do you want to continue building the size of your strawberries, or do you want to spread out and make multiple strawberries to where that you get 7 times 4 versus 6 times 3? Or little things like that. You have the opportunity to think through every turn, and what seems irrelevant, what seems unimportant is vastly important because you might be covering up a mice only to be showing 2 mice. I know it seems like I'm belaboring this point because you saw how the game plays. It's very, very simple, but it's just fun. And that's what a lot of games are missing sometimes. We throw out games so many times. This game is just fun. It's a fun little game that involves placing cards in a way that gains you the most points. In a strategic, tactical way, you have to think through every turn so that you can further your points at the end of the game, knowing that your largest group, the one with the most in it, also will score you extra, but will also score points for the opponent. So you've got to mitigate that damage that you're going to give to the opponent too, knowing that they're going to give you some. Granted, they could play in such a way where they're not concerned about that. And they don't really care that they don't give you or themselves any points on that because they're going to do their points based on the multiplication. So, Veggies, fun game from Devir. If you like quick games that you can throw down on game nights, this is one you can play with your kids. You can play with game night people. The age variation really doesn't matter on this one. It's a really great, fun little card laying, card flipping game, card placing game. So, I'm Bryan Drake here on the Dice Tower. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, etc. at Dice Tower Bryan. Until next time, we'll see you.